Yeah, come and take a look at the snow. Bright white as far as your eyesight goes. Come and take a look at the fields of snow. I'll just get my coat, then we're good to go. Come and take a look at the lake. Let's have a quick skate before it gets late. Come and take a look at the frozen lake. Put your clothes on, mate, don't make that mistake. Happy Christmas.
Greetings, holiday shoppers. There are now 193 shopping days left until Christmas. It is June 15th, 2023. That means it's your next episode of Christmas Creeps, your one-stop shop for holiday movies and TV shows all year round. My name is Joseph Wade. I'll be your host for this evening. Here with me tonight is my co-host, Mr. Bradford. Brad, what's shaking?
I'm gonna... Giant robots, that's what's shaking.
Shaking like a tree at the robot factory. What am I talking about? Anyway, we have an esteemed guest returning to the show tonight. Hi, Dr. Nick.
I'm glad you guys brought me along because it sounds like you two are just winging it.
See, that's an actual joke.
That is a legitimate joke, and I appreciate that. Somebody came prepared tonight. Oh boy, because ladies and gentlemen, I regret to inform you that somehow anime has returned to the podcast because we're going into extra innings tonight for anime because we have Bradford has dug up an anime film for us to cover, an actual legitimate film. So Brad, what are we talking about this week?
Tonight we are talking about Gundam Wing Endless Waltz. For those of you unfamiliar with Gundam, it's a big robot television series, multimedia multimedia franchise. It's one of the big mecha shows. And in the this is the late 90s, early aughts. The incarnation of Gundam was Gundam Wing, and it was a television show.
I was going to say specifically in Japan, Gundam Wing ran from April 1995 to March 1996.
Look at you, prepared. Much more than me. But some of our listening audience may be familiar with it because it aired on Cartoon Network's Toonami block, maybe during your youth, if you're about the same age as us.
Yes, it was the first, if I recall correctly, it is the first Gundam to ever receive an official release in America. There were some Gundams that were released in like bootlegs at like conventions and stuff with like fan subs, but this was the first Gundam to get like any sort of official release via Toonami and Adult Swim. The initial run on Toonami was from March 2000 through May 2000. I think it was about one episode a day. So they just blasted through all 49 episodes of this show in one go, which is extremely bonkers considering how it was done, one episode a week in Japan. Also, it came to America about 5 years after its debut in Japan. So we were a little behind the times on it, but once it hit in America, it hit pretty big. You could literally go into your Walmart and get the model kits for like the main Gundams in this show because it was just such a big hit on Toonami. It was airing like around the time as Dragon Ball Z.
Yes.
Which, Toonami was king shit of fuck mountain at that time.
This was Gundam's Final Fantasy VII moment, essentially.
Yes, Gundam hasn't really like capitalized on this moment since. Like, it hasn't had a breakout hit in America quite like Wing. It has not been able to like capitalize on the momentum it had with Wing, but it still kept a like dedicated American fan base, and it's still picked up fans over the years. And even the current show that's airing, Witch from Mercury, actually seems to be picking up quite a bit of steam. It's the first Gundam Wing was the first ever Gundam series to get a Latin American Spanish dub, and Witch from Mercury is the second Gundam to ever do that. And Witch from Mercury now has 5 different languages. It's got Japanese, English, Latin American Spanish, Brazilian Portuguese, and Hindi.
Wow!
So it's carving out its own niche still.
Never would have guessed that last one.
Yeah.
Because, with Brazilian Portuguese, you have that connection where there's some of the Japanese diaspora in Brazil. Mm-hmm. There's like a link to Japan there. But,
I'm glad we've got Nick on the show tonight to discuss this, because why are we discussing this exactly?
Because it's a Christmas movie. Sort of.
Full of Christmas presents.
Yes. And a Christmas party and Christmas trees.
Mm-hmm.
I have watched 2 quote-unquote Christmas films today. This might be the best one. The other one was the Bruce Willis action movie Red, which is also not bad.
Okay. I didn't realize that was a Christmas movie.
They're about equal in their I guess Christmas scale. Like they're both like, oh yeah, an action movie with Christmas trees. That's basically it.
Okay.
All right.
But Gundam is a thing that I've only kind of been tangentially aware of. I remember it coming on Toonami back in the day and going, wow, cartoon robots, that looks cool. Not watching it. And that sort of being my exposure to it until my local video game store has, for the last decade or so, had Gundam models stacked to the rafters constantly. Like, they constantly sell out of those things. So it's always around and it's always there.
That's the dirty secret of Gundam. They actually don't really care about advertisers or anything. Gundam makes its money on the toys and the model kits. That is the business model. So they can kind of do a lot of stuff with the show. Nobody really cares as long as the model kits sell.
How toyetic can you get?
Exactly. And by my rough, vague count, first of all, one thing I want to say about this is I like that this, as a movie, this is kind of positioned as like the last Gundam thing ever. And I like
really
that because according to the Wikipedia, this is technically part 14 of 55.
We'll get into like the Gundam AUs and what the alternate timelines mean.
Oh, okay. So there's a lot of caveats to that number. I got you.
Yes. We can talk about that in a moment.
Okay. Well, before we jump straight into Gundam, there's one last order of business we have to attend to tonight.
The can check?
You got it, bud. Can check. Are we drinking along with me tonight? Because I'm drinking tonight.
I have a frosty bev. Dr. Nick, why don't you?
Yes, I've got a Trader Joe's watermelon cucumber cooler.
Ooh, that sounds great.
It tastes like summer. It's the Trader Joe's disappointed me a bit because they had sparkling watermelon juice and sparkling pineapple juice, and both of those were disappointing in different ways. But this watermelon cucumber cooler,
I think cucumber I think Trader Joe's needs to hire you on in their advertising ad copy department.
I mean, come on, yeah, it's right there.
Watermelon cucumber.
Yeah, it's right there. It's easier. But yeah, the watermelon cucumber cooler, I think, is a lot more refreshing. It's just the right amount of sweet, because the problem with the sparkling watermelon juice is that it really wasn't sweet enough to really let the flavor sing. And the sparkling pineapple juice just tasted like some of the concoctions I made in college when I was desperate for alcohol. Mm-hmm. Like the Mad Men line about how, Mountain Dew and vodka isn't a cocktail, it's an emergency. That's what the sparkling pineapple juice tasted like.
Oh, God. Now, this one's not alcoholic, is it?
No, it's not.
Okay. Because I was going to say, that sounds like a recipe for disaster. If you get too tasty and too refreshing, you could be in trouble.
No, but this was just a really nice, just sugary enough to get the flavors. It's very refreshing. Would recommend if there's a Trader Joe's near you.
I'm about to check that out. Yeah,
nice.
Bradford, how about you?
I have a tall boy of Flying Dog The Truth Imperial IPA. It's an old standby. It's serviceable. 8 out of 10.
Bradford
7.5 out of 10.
Is becoming more and more of an IPA man lately, I think.
Yeah, I'm trying to drink less.
Fair.
Definite for starters, but I really have gotten sick of hazy IPAs and juicy IPAs. It's like they're like the new pumpkin beer. I like the style, but now it's just like they're everywhere. You can't avoid them. And now I find myself going back to just normal IPAs, classic IPAs, as well as sours and goses. But I was doing that earlier this spring, but I'm trying to dial it back a little bit, which is why I have a tall boy.
Yeah, give me a good sour or a gose any day, but I'm just not an IPA guy.
It's an acquired taste,
I guess.
And I just acquired it.
Very good. So last but not least, guys.
What about you?
Well, I inflicted psychic damage on myself today by watching 2 Christmas movies, so I'm going to inflict bodily harm on myself now. I have in my hand a Bojangles brand hard sweet tea.
What?
Whoa.
What a world. What a world we live in.
I'm expecting this to just be like Bojangles sweet tea plus alcohol, but on the back it very clearly says this is beer. So
who's responsible for this monster? Who do I blame for this monstrosity? I mean, I'm sure it's just some contract brewing company, but you gotta... where is this made?
Appalachian Mountain Brewing out of Boone, North Carolina. So it's very much a local thing. So
this is like kind of a craft. I mean, it can't be that craft if it has Bojangles' blessing, but...
Oh yeah, it's got the Bojangles logo like right there on the can, bright as day, but
it's a collab. Sweet tea.
And it's definitely a sweet tea with like, it's like a hard sweet tea, but it's like not carbonated at all.
Yeah, I don't know about this, bud.
And it's God.
But it's beer. It's not like they didn't just take like alcohol and mix it with the sweet tea.
No, because it says ingredients: filtered water, fermented cane sugar. There it is. And black tea. But on the bottom in bright red letters it says beer contains alcohol.
Oh,
weird.
And if I'm being honest, yes, this is disgusting.
Is there any hint of lemon? I mean, it sounds like you're committing psychic damage still.
No, because Bojangles, they don't really do lemon in their tea. So no, this does not.
Ugh. Violent.
And it is.
Goodness gracious.
Like, I didn't know sugar could go bad, but if it did, they put it in this.
I could feel my insides curdling just talking about this. That's literally what
fermented is.
I know. It's literally going bad, but like, it's no, you guys, no.
Maybe Bojangles makes all their sweet tea in a big factory somewhere, and somebody left a batch out like over a long weekend and turned alcoholic.
Yeah.
Like
you guys have taken
opportunity.
You guys have taken the one last good thing in the world, and you just fucking ruined it.
Beer.
Congratulations.
Sweet tea.
Bojangles sweet tea,
Ugh.
and it's gone now, and I have to drink it. This also has 50% of my daily
sugar
allotment of sugar, so
I
don't know how much of that I'm going to get through. Anyway, that's what we're doing to ourselves tonight.
What is the ABV on this situation?
Let's see here.
Don't tell if it's less than 6. Go home.
It's 5. It's 5.5.
Oh my god!
Oh, I was worried it was going to be like an 8 or something.
I mean, if it was high gravity, at least it would be like a 4 Loko type situation.
You know what the worst part of this is, though? You can't buy just one. I had to buy a box of 15 of these stupid things.
15?
I have 15 of these. I don't have 14 friends. I'm in trouble.
I would just go put this in the woods, and some enterprising teens will come across it and have a very good time. I think that's what I would do if I were in your situation.
I might have to
donate this to a local good cause of underage drinking.
The local woods porn fund. Yeah,
essentially.
May have to do that. I'm done with this. This is awful. Anyway, speaking of awful.
Yeah.
Actually, I can't say that because I kind of enjoyed this movie.
All right.
I did too, actually. I enjoyed this a lot more than I thought I was. I was kind of dreading this because we were talking about this before in our Discord. Please join our Discord. It's in the show notes. And Dr. Nick was making it out to be like a very convoluted thing. And I'm sure Wing itself is somewhat convoluted, but I was still able to grab like the broad strokes of what was going on, and I had a good time. I had a good time with this movie.
Well, I gave you that warning because I had not seen it yet, and I was warning because Wing is very convoluted, and I guess this is the moment where I have to come clean. I am a Wing hater. I did not enjoy the experience of watching Gundam Wing, because it's a show that is just very convoluted and very confusing and very boring. The best comparison I could make is something like the theatrical cut of Batman versus Superman or the Star Wars Holiday Special, where like talking about it is really fun, but the actual act of watching it is just an absolute chore. For me, in my mind, there are two canonical texts with regards to my feelings on Gundam Wing, the TV show. One is a tweet from @SpaceQueenEmily. That's a meme that's just like, the picture of like a really futuristic world with flying cars and stuff, and it says, "Society if Gundam Wing was as good as it is fun to talk about." And then I just posted in the chat. And then the other one is a response to Chris Person at Papa Pichu posting the end of the first episode of Gundam Wing, which is, genuinely completely bonkers. Him saying Gundam Wing is a very low tier Gundam, and this person at Effie Artoria saying, "I once asked a Discord full of Gundam nerds if they could explain to me briefly what the conflict is in Gundam Wing, what the sides are, and what the main actor's motivations are. They told me, no, that's impossible." because the major issue with Gundam Wing is that the main villain changes like once every 10 episodes, and you never really have a sense of who is the villain and who isn't, and they keep introducing new factions who want to like make war or make peace, and you struggle to keep track of who they all are and whatnot, and it just at a point feels like the main characters are just kind of getting bounced around but like a pinball, but not actually as fun as a game of pinball.
So I got a little whiff of that in this when they were like talking about Operation Meteor and like all of the. All right, I already sprung a trap, apparently.
Yeah, you activated the trap card. Well, we can talk about Operation Meteor when we get to that in the movie itself, but spoiler alert, that's a retcon.
Okay.
Basically, what you're saying is like all of the villains in like the world of Gundam Wing, they all want the same thing, but none of them want it at the same time.
Except they, not really, because some of them want to be, like, some of them want to, like, be villain, do the bad thing, and some of them at different points want to do the good thing. Like, we can get into it when we start talking about Treize and Treize's motivations, because that's a big part of this movie.
Okay.
Because like, the main, one of the main villains is the daughter of Treize Khusranada, who is, for lack of a better term, I guess, the main villain of Wing, but again, he like flip-flops and changes sides multiple times.
Yeah, it made it sound like they were fighting on that side, like the five dude bros, the five twinks, as you put it.
Yes.
We're fighting alongside him at least at some point during the proceedings of Wing.
Yes. But at the end they're fighting against him.
Okay. Yeah. So Gundam Wing is a movie. It was originally an OVA, and
yes.
Joe, I know you may not be familiar with the concept of OVAs. It's basically like direct to DVD.
Yeah, I kind of get it, like a mini series, basically.
Yeah, mm-hmm. They usually put them on bonuses. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but they're usually bonuses on like whatever DVD release. The actual series is.
Well, this is in like the 90s where this was just straight up. You would go to a store and just buy a cassette tape that had just one episode of Gundam Wing Endless Waltz on it.
Okay.
And then because Gundam Wing was like a hit in the Gundam audience, but so they wanted a sequel, and they did a sequel OVA series, which, the OVA series has its advantages because you are paying for the video directly. You can get higher quality animation because none of the fights in Gundam Wing are nearly as good looking as the fights in Endless Waltz. So you get a lot of recycled animation in Wing. But Endless Waltz, yeah, there were 3 different episodes, and yeah, they were just really straight on VHS tapes, and then which were all released in '97, and then in '98, Bandai and Sunrise. By the way, in '93, Bandai bought out Sunrise, which is Sunrise is the studio that's been making Gundam since the beginning. So that's why I'm using Sunrise and Bandai interchangeably. But Bandai put together a special edition film version of Endless Waltz that has about 10 extra minutes of footage and some extra music.
Which is what we watched. Yes.
Yes. Okay, good. Now, I want to directly address the listeners out there right fast. If any of this has made no sense to you at all, I understand, and I'm right there with you, and we're going to get through this together.
Yes. How about we start at the beginning? What the heck is Gundam?
Yes. So let me kind of stumble my way through this, because I have a very limited understanding of any of this, so maybe this will be fun.
Yes.
And if I get any of it wrong, just like smash that buzzer and just tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, actually.
So the overarching like thing as far as Gundam goes, Gundams are these giant piloted robots that are used basically to maintain world peace, correct?
I've
already gotten it wrong.
It depends. Okay, let's go back to the beginning of like the real world origins of Gundam, because in like the 70s, the mechas in the mecha genre in Japan was like dominated by like Young Boy and His Robot and super robot shows, which are just like about super powered robots fighting aliens and stuff. In 79, Yoshiyuki Tomino comes up with this idea for what about if we had, instead of, robots fighting aliens, we had humans and robots fighting other humans and robots, and he creates the show Mobile Suit Gundam, and thus creates the real robot genre, where instead of just like superpowered robots, it's a show that's a lot more concerned with the nitty gritty of like actually fighting a war and what fighting war actually means. And hey, what does it actually mean to be a teenager piloting a giant death robot? And how does that affect you? And turns out it's not good for your mental health.
Yeah, somehow predates Robot Jocks by like 15 years.
Robot Jocks, I looked this up, actually is kind of the basis for a different Gundam series. There's no, like, as far as I can tell, there's no direct connection. But Robot Jocks, the idea of piloting giant robots for the nations of the Earth to square up their differences, that is kind of the basis for Mobile Fighter G Gundam, which a lot of people which I've seen people refer to as a Dragon Ball Gundam.
Okay.
Which it's basically Mobile Fighter G Gundam is, well, we'll get back to Mobile Fighter G Gundam in a second. So
fun fact, that is the Gundam series that has always been recommended to me as the Gundam that I would enjoy most.
I think I specifically recommended that one to you because you said you liked Gurren Lagann. I'm like, if you like Gurren Lagann, you'll like Mobile Fighter G Gundam because it is the similar brand of just complete goofy nonsense.
The dumber the better, please.
Yes.
That's the one with the windmill Gundam from Holland, right?
Yes, the Nether Gundam. Yes.
Listen, if we're talking about giant robots and the dumber the better, you might as well just watch Robot Jocks.
I mean, but Mobile Fighter G Gundam is like Robot Jocks, but dumber, because there's a guy named Master Asia who can defeat robots with, like, a ribbon.
Okay.
But, okay.
Fair enough.
So going back to 79, which is when the original Mobile Suit Gundam came out, the name Gundam is chosen because originally it was a portmanteau of gun and freedom. This is a Japanese franchise, not an American somehow. But they changed, so it was supposed to be Gundom, but they eventually changed the name to Gundam because the Gundam's weapons were seen as holding back the enemies like a hydroelectric dam. So that's how we get the name Gundam.
Okay.
And the first like all the Gundam series from 1979 up through I just had this up through so we had Mobile Suit, the main TV series of Mobile Suit Gundam, hereafter referred to as First Gundam, Mobile Suit Zeta Gundam, Mobile Suit Double Zeta Gundam, and Mobile Suit Victory Gundam, all the way up through the end of 1994. These all take place in the Universal Century, which is the original timeline of Gundam. And in between there, you get some OVA series like 08th MS Team and War in the Pocket, and you get the film Char's Counterattack, and you get a lot of other side material and stuff, because even though the first Gundam was not a hit initially, the year after it came out, the Bandai first model kits came out, and then compilation films were released in theaters, and after that, the popularity just took off like a rocket.
Mm-hmm.
It almost was not a hit, but toys and compilation movies saved it. So in 94, with Victory Gundam, which I have not seen, but from what I've heard, they kind of hit like an endpoint with Victory Gundam, and Yoshiyuki Tomino, the guy who created the franchise, leaves, and they're kind of stuck with like, well, we got to do something new with Gundam, because we kind of hit an endpoint with what we can do at the Universal Century. So that's when Mobile Fighter G Gundam comes in, where they just kind of go against most of what Gundam is, and instead it just becomes like a martial arts tournament movie where it just gets very ridiculous and silly, where you have like the colonies in space are all represented by a single Gundam, and there's a tournament to determine the Gundam of Gundams and who gets to rule space for the next 4 years. Meanwhile, the Neo-Japanese fighter Domon Kashu, he has to find his brother, because his brother stole the Devil Gundam, and Domon has to find him and defeat him, or else the Neo-Japanese government will kill his family.
Okay.
And then it turns out that he makes buddies with the Neo-American, Neo-Chinese, Neo-French, and Neo-Russian fighters, and they all get imbued with the power of the literal deck of cards, literally the King of Hearts, Queen the Spade, Black Joker. It's like the Shuffle Alliance. You can see why G Gundam is very stupid and dumb and ridiculous, and it kind of goes against a lot of stuff with Gundam. It goes against a lot of like the traditional Gundam stuff, but it still keeps a lot of the Gundam flavor. And this is in the 90s anime, so as soon as G Gundam is done, literally the very next week, Gundam Wing starts.
So they had already decided that this was going to continue, and they already had the next thing ready to go.
This is the 90s. There was a 1 month break between Mobile Suit Victory Gundam and Mobile Fighter G Gundam. This is just how anime was made in the 90s, where you had like the endless Dragon Ball episodes where Goku was powering up for weeks on end because they had to wait for God, what's his name? Akira Toriyama to catch up with the manga, so they just had to stall for time constantly, which we'll get into in a little bit.
Instead of filler arcs, you had stalling, essentially.
Yeah, well, Gundam isn't... like, the Gundam TV series are original works, so they don't have to, like, stall for time in the way that, like, TV, like, One Pieces or DBZs have had to in the past, because they are just original stories, so they can just tell the story they need to in 50 episodes and be done.
So they just stalled for time just because they wanted to.
Yeah, if they ever stalled for time, it's because they wanted to. Or in the case of Gundam Wing, it's because, for whatever reason, I'm still not clear on this, I've heard differing accounts, after the first 26 episodes of Gundam Wing, the original director was either left the project, was transferred to a different project, was kicked off, or whatever, and you get 2 clip show episodes in a row while the new director takes over to finish out the rest of Gundam Wing.
All right, so that gets us to Endless Waltz.
Yes, and after Gundam Wing is finished, Gundam Wing does have some success. The back half of the series kind of does get its lunch eaten by the only mecha franchise since Gundam to even come close to taking Gundam's crown.
Ooh. Can I
guess?
What,
Bradford? What is it?
Is it Evangelion?
Evangelion is running at the same time as the back half of Gundam Wing and gets its lunch, and it eats Gundam Wing's lunch. So, but Gundam Wing is still successful enough to justify greenlighting an OVA series, and the OVA series does well enough that they make a compilation film, which is the Gundam Wing Endless Waltz special edition that we all watched for this podcast.
Gotcha. So there you have it.
It all
Yes.
comes full circle.
Any questions so far?
No, actually. So my understanding is there's the original timeline that starts with the 79 series.
Yeah,
and
the Universal Century.
This is still part of that timeline?
No, it is not. This is
Oh,
the original, the Universal Century. They still make works in that timeline to this day. Like most recently, they made Hathaway's Flash in that timeline. Before that, they had Unicorn. They're still making side stories and stuff because, there are people who grew up like in the 80s watching that Gundam, and they still are invested in that timeline. So Bondi and Sunrise are still like catering to those old heads, but they make new timelines every so often to get new audiences into Gundam and get new audiences and specifically teenagers into Gundam. Like the newest Gundam series, Witch from Mercury. The executives at Sunrise specifically said they specifically made it into a high school set in a school because they heard from high schoolers that they don't watch Gundam because Gundam is just like that thing their uncle or their grandpa is into,
right?
Because
the new one is the new time is a new timeline.
It is in the Ad Stella timeline. Mobile Fighter G Gundam is the I believe I think it's the Colony era timeline. The one that we are in is the After Colony timeline. That's what Gundam Wing is.
Right, because the dates are AC 196.
Yes.
Xmas Eve.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Very good.
That's where this film opens. Xmas Eve.
It opens Xmas Eve 195, which is the year that Gundam Wing the show takes place.
Right.
Because that's the opening scene. The opening scene is the final battle of the show.
Right.
Okay, I got you.
Yes.
So my follow-up question to you is, do these timelines cross-pollinate, or are they completely separate universes?
They do cross-pollinate in one circumstance, which was, granted, I have not seen the series, but and this is kind of a spoiler for it, but in Turn A Gundam, which is the Gundam series that Tomino made when he returned to Sunrise in '99, I believe, which is widely regarded as one of the best Gundam series. There is a twist that basically the correct century, which is the century that the timeline that takes place in, is basically all kind of melds all the timelines together. That all the Gundam timelines have happened one after another, and the correct century is at the end of all of them.
Okay,
I see.
Got it.
And the only hint you get of Mobile Fighter G Gundam is, yes, a shot of the Nether Gundam, the Windmill Gundam.
Hell yeah.
So as this film opens up, they've decided that someone literally says, as long as peace continues, there's no need for Gundams. So they're getting rid of the Gundams, correct?
Yes, because Gundam kind of sets itself apart by, like, one of the major things of Gundam is being, like, very staunchly political. Tomino made Gundam as a way to, like, make a story about, like, the horrors of war and, like, hey, piloting a giant robot and going to war actually really fucking sucks. Mm-hmm. And the idea of war being bad continues all throughout Gundam. The only one that doesn't really have that is Mobile Fighter G Gundam, where the major political stance of Mobile Fighter G Gundam is the colonies, are exploiting the Earth, and having these, big Gundam fights every 4 years on Earth are just completely destroying Earth, and nobody wants to live on Earth because it's so fucking shitty.
Right.
And
makes sense.
that's also a common theme in Gundam is the Earth versus the colonies divide, because there are always colonies in Gundam, and typically either Earth or the colonies have like the upper hand, and the other side is resentful of it and is taking violent action against it. So the opening of Gundam Wing is the final battle of the show, which, god damn it, here's where we get into it, which is a battle between Zex Merquise, which we will talk about later, and Treize Crucianata, who is a focal point of this movie, even though he's not in it. They are both fighting a battle that is so bloody and so terrible that humanity will forever forsake war, which is also kind of playing along with the fact that Relena, who at this point is the queen of the United Earth Sphere, is preaching her philosophy of absolute pacifism, where basically there is no need to fight any battles or have any fights whatsoever. So if everybody just lays down their arms, we'll all be peaceful and there will be no need for war.
The whole peacecraft thing, just because they refer to her as peacecraft at certain points throughout the movie?
Yes, they do. She is. Yes, she is. Her birth name is Relena Peacecraft. She is of the Peacecrafts, and who ruled the Sank Kingdom, and the Peacecrafts were known for their practicing the philosophy of absolute pacifism. But Relena was adopted at a young age by a politician named Darlian, and that's why in this movie she takes on the name Relena Darlian, because that's her. They get into it a little bit later on, and that it makes sense why she takes on the name Relena Darlian.
I can see how Wing is already a little bit complicated when we're just talking about this one character. And this is already this way.
Keep in mind that after her adopted father dies, that's when he tells her that she was adopted and she's one of the Peacecrafts. In the next couple episodes, she goes to a gala where Lady Un is there, which they don't even say Lady Un's name. She's the one that saves Mariemaia at the end.
Okay.
But she tries to kill her and says, "I want to bathe in the blood of Oz." And then later is practicing absolute pacifism. Here, at this point, you guys should open up the chat because I am sending you the character chart I made that shows everybody who's relevant to this and their names.
Oh, thank God!
Here we go.
Because a lot of them don't really have their names mentioned in this movie, and a lot of them have new names in this movie.
Oh my God. Yeah, this is very helpful.
This is why I'm glad Nick is here, because otherwise it was going to just be me and Brad saying, boy, this is like being dropped into the middle of a soap opera and asked to figure out what the fuck is going on. So somebody is here to show us charts and graphs, and I love it. Thank you so much.
The thing that I laughed so hard at is that you put the blue check next to Trolla's name.
We'll get into that. That was one of the things where I was like, hell yes, this movie rocks because it's all the good parts of Gundam Wing. Because that is the Troa Barton thing is such a stupid fucking Gundam Wing thing, and it actually kind of works because this movie is 90 minutes instead of 50 fucking episodes.
Right.
And the real aggravating thing to me now is like I see this list of characters and I see all their faces. And I legitimately thought half of these were the same people.
I mean, a lot of the preventers kind of meld together other than fire, I would say. A little bit.
Yeah, the thing is they kind of expect you to have knowledge of who the preventers are because you've watched them through 50 episodes of Gundam Wing.
Yeah. Right, and I'm assuming that, the main hero Gundams and their pilots are the main characters.
Yes, they are.
And I recognize that.
Yeah, they and Relena are the main characters in Gundam Wing. But yeah, there are some characters you didn't know who that bitch was who was telling the guys to they're the tails getting wagged by a dog. You don't know who that girl is, but she's but when she showed up, I was super hyped because she was seeing her tell these dudes off was one of the best parts of the movie. You have no idea who she is because you haven't seen Gundam Wing.
No, I didn't, but I immediately assumed something terrible was going to happen with that character.
No, I
double eyebrows.
Yeah, she's got the eyebrows because she is. That's one of the most notable things about her is her eyebrows.
So okay. Let's talk about the Gundam pilots real quick.
Yes.
Hero, who I assume is the main character because his name is Hero.
Protagonist.
Also, real quick, have you guys caught on to what the naming convention is for a lot of these characters?
Some of them are literally named numbers.
Yes, a lot of them are named numbers.
And let me help you out here. Wu is 5 in Chinese.
Yep. Troa is as close to Japanese can get to doing the French trois.
Yeah. I figured that much. Yeah. Like once I saw duo and quater, I figured exactly what was going on, and that there was 5 of them. So like, okay, there's definitely not a 1 because that's hero, but then like 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, I understand.
Yeah.
But we've got our main 5 heroes, the Gundam pilots, who have sent their Gundams to the sun because they're under the assumption that we do not need them anymore.
Well, hold on. We have to still talk a little bit more about the opening battle. That's a flashback to the original series. Yes, the original that battle. By the way, you know how there's that giant spaceship that you can briefly see the Wing Zero firing a giant laser beam at.
Yeah, that is a
very common Gundam trope for people to drop giant things on Earth. That is. In fact, actually, in first Gundam, before you even see the first episode's title card, it talks about a colony drop where the Principality of Zeon drops an entire fucking colony on Earth and kills millions of people.
Well, that was also kind of what I understood the villain's plot to be in this.
That is also, yes, Operation Meteor is just the same thing.
Right.
Also, just to put a pin in this, there is somebody inside that battleship. Blowing up the reactor from the inside in order to prevent it from crashing into Earth. Put a pin in that.
Okay, sure.
And
let's hang on to that.
And one more note: the fact that this was on Christmas Eve is a retcon. That was not in the show itself.
The final battle was on Christmas Eve.
Yes, the final battle of the show being on Christmas Eve was not in the show itself.
Gotcha.
We'll come back around to that later, I'm assuming. Because otherwise, it's pretty inconsequential.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that there's a lot of retconning in Endless Waltz.
Up to the design of the mechas themselves, is my understanding.
Yes. Oh, yes. We will talk about the mechas later. I have a graphic prepared just for that.
Oh, goody! All right, I'm excited. So the battle's been won. Peace has been attained. They've sent the Gundams into the sun, or at least they're on their way. And then the colony starts to hatch their scheme to take over the Earth.
I forget which colony it is, but yeah, there is one specific colony that wants to take over Earth.
Oh, there's more than one colony.
18999.
There's
a colony is
when your colony is named.
Yeah, when your colony is named X18999, I think you can assume there is more than one colony.
Thank you, Brad. I did not write down the colony's name.
It's all good.
But yeah, there's multiple colonies. That's the way it goes in Gundam. There's multiple colonies. And the thing is, Gundam Wing makes the classic mistake of not doing like what Mobile Fighter G Gundam does and having their colonies themed after. Mobile Fighter G Gundam themes their colonies after like what nation they are. If you give me a second, I can pull up some really good screenshots of this.
Oh, I can't imagine that's culturally insensitive at all.
Just keep in mind, there is a Tequila Gundam in Mobile Fighter G Gundam.
Hell yeah!
Is it piloted by Sammy Hagar?
No, but the I think that the Nether Gundam, the Windmill Gundam, is piloted by Rutger Verhoeven.
Okay, sure.
Oh, here you go. This is my favorite. The where they're detaching this Statue of Liberty cannon.
Oh my god. Like, we can get into the plot of this thing, but it almost seems like it doesn't matter.
I just really like talking about Gundam, and I just have too much Gundam knowledge railing up in my brain.
Let me break down the plot in the most basic of terms. Peace between the Earth and the colonies has been attained. They've sent the Gundams to the sun because we don't need the Gundams anymore. Colony 189999 decides to make their play for ruling Earth. In exchange, our Gundam pilots decide we have to go chase our Gundams down before they crash into the sun and get them back, so that we can come back and save the Earth. That's the plot.
One last job.
Yes. But they kidnap. Yeah, the colony kidnaps Queen Relena, and when the Preventers, who is set up by 3 women from the original series, who kind of sometimes work for the good guys and sometimes don't. Like, there's a reason on this character chart I put an allies/enemies. Trust me, they're the same.
Okay.
They're the Preventers are supposed to prevent anything like this from happening. They recognize that there's some shit going on in this colony. They take off with Hero and Duo to prevent anything happening further. Meanwhile, Troa's at the circus. I think Brad looked at the spoilers I posted. Remember how I said there was an amnesiac clown?
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah, something I didn't know at the time. Troa has double amnesia. Because he gets amnesia during the show when his Gundam gets blown up in space with him in it, and that gives him amnesia. But he also had amnesia beforehand, where him and his sister were like victims of like warfare or something, and he gets separated from his sister, gets amnesia, and ends up joining the circus. And that lady who works with him in the circus, Catherine, is his sister from his childhood.
Oh, come on. Stop.
Yeah, there's a lot of like goofy supplemental material for Gundam Wing. Like, also, Quatre has 26 siblings. But yeah, this is when Troa realizes that there are people from the the Barton Foundation snooping around. He remembers that the real Troa Barton was talking about having a niece who was going to conquer Earth. Which, again, the real Troa Barton is new to Endless Waltz. That is a complete retcon. The niece of the Barton niece and daughter of Trey's is new to this movie.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And then also, it's not all the Gundam pilots that go to stop this colony, because Wu Fei is working with the colony. Because if there's one constant in Gundam Wing, it's that Wu Fei sucks.
Yeah, I kind of gathered that. Yeah.
And then Troa, at least at the beginning, appears to be in cahoots with them.
Yeah. Yes, Troa looking a little too sharp in his Hitler Youth outfit when he tries to sneak in.
Slightly uncomfortable, yeah.
Yeah. I will say their Gundam also does have a lot of like not really flirtations, but also like does code a lot of the villains with like Nazi imagery, but with the guys that a lot of the villains in Gundam are outright fascists.
Yeah, there's a lot of like the eagle imagery going on here. The very uncomfortably Nazi German eagle imagery. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot of hats with that on, that going on, and a lot of armbands.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, I think it's completely intentional to be like, yeah, these guys are like open fascists. And you get that even in First Gundam, where the Principality of Zeon, the main villains, like want to make a world of just spacefarers. And there's even like an infamous scene where 2 guys are arguing about the merits of Adolf Hitler, and one guy's like, "I'll show you how Adolf Hitler, a follower of Hitler, fights a war." And the other guy he's talking to is like, "The problem with Hitler is that Hitler lost." So, not subtle.
No, not at all. But I guess it's easy visual shorthand for like, oh, those are obviously the villains.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
That's fine. I'm fine with that. But I see I'm counting on your chart here. There's 15 characters that you've listed, 8 of whom are new to Endless Waltz.
No, just some of the names. Only 3 characters are new to Endless.
Okay.
3 characters are new to Endless Waltz. Decking Barton, Mariemaia Kushranada, and the real Troa Barton are new to Endless Waltz.
I see.
And then the other ones
everybody
have renamed
else
as preventers.
Yeah, and then Troa's no name. He's new. That name is new to Endless Waltz as well, because that was a retcon.
Okay,
gotcha.
So yeah, on the way to this colony, both Duo and Hero are having flashbacks about their backstories, where Duo has a flashback about wanting to blow up his Gundam and kill everybody everybody who's involved with, his side of Operation Meteor, including himself.
Like within 5 city blocks, yeah.
Yeah, and he starts calling himself the God of Death.
Yeesh, dude, yeah.
Yeah, I have a good analogy for this. You know that the Futurama episode "War is the H Word"?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know the part with the surgeon bot who flips the switch between maudlin and irreverent?
That's perfect.
When Duo starts calling himself the God of Death, that's when he flips that switch to maudlin.
It's really a clash, because he's essentially the comedic relief character when he's not in his mobile suit, and he's got like a Kansai accent going on or something, and he's just like goofing it. He's just the goofball.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "No, I'm the God of Death.
Yeah.
My Gundam has bat wings on it. I carry a scythe."
Yeah. The Death Scythe Hell.
That's right.
Yeah. Which is like the total edgiest edgelord 90s mobile suit name. So. And then in Hero's flashback, which is actually appreciated because we get like no interiority to Hero in Gundam Wing itself. Like the closest we get is like the opening episode where Relena gives Hero an invitation to her birthday party. He rips it up, and when Relena asks him why he ripped it up, he wipes a tear away from her face and says, "I'll kill you."
What the fuck?
Again, Gundam Wing is very funny to talk about, but not fun to watch. In this like flashback scene where Hero meets a small child with a dog, and then when he blows up a military base, and one of the Leos, the mobile suits there, crashes into a nearby building, and he surveys the wreckage. There's a little like teddy bear there that's covered in. Well, it originally looked like snow, but I think it's supposed to be ashes.
Mm-hmm.
That's a direct reference to the first OP in Gundam Wing, where Relena just brushes snow off a teddy bear. But they're just like, hey, we got to include that image in Endless Waltz.
Huh?
Yeah, I would not have picked up on that for sure.
Spoiler alert!
Just assumed that was he blows the thing up and destroys a whole city block, and then well, that's just tragic. You assume the kid that he interacts with is dead, and they didn't want to show that, so they put a teddy bear in there instead.
And the dead dog.
And the dead dog.
The dog does die.
Oh.
And then the scene gets even more Gundam Wing, because he's carrying the dog, you hear the voices asking, "Would Hiro Yui want this?" And here we get the fun question: are they talking about Hiro Yui the pilot or Hiro Yui the politician? Because there are 2 Hiro Yuis in Gundam Wing.
Oh my god, are you serious?
Because there was a politician named Hiro Yui who wanted independence and peace for the colonies, but he was assassinated in AC 175, and Hiro Yui, the Gundam pilot, was named after him.
All right.
Okay. Okay, guy.
I almost wish the plot to get the Gundams back from their trajectory toward the sun was more of a plot and not just, oh, here's a blip on our journey. It
was kind of a one-off with Quattra's journey to retrieve them.
Yeah, because it went off without a hitch, and it was incredibly easy.
Except I liked that because I liked seeing the Maganach troops again, which those are like the guys that he's with, the guy who looks like Wolverine.
The guys in the fezzes.
Yeah, those are just like the dudes he fights with. Because like it's everybody else, all the other like Gundam pilots act completely independently in the show. For the most part, they're supposed to act independently at first, but then like Quatre like is like working with all these like troops in the desert for some reason.
So I have a question for you.
Yes.
So Hero and Duo go to the colony because Relena has been kidnapped.
Yes.
And they do some ace piloting with some help from some of the preventers.
Mm-hmm.
And they get inside, and it doesn't show it, but it's just assumed that they steal mobile suits at some point, right?
they even talk about that right before they go.
Yeah.
They start charging in. They say we'll steal a couple of their mobile suits.
Okay, it's just not shown. It's just it's Greek play style assumed to have happened at some point because
yes,
I had rewind. I did rewind it. The transition is very abrupt. Like they take their ship right in, and then the very next scene, bam, they're in mobile suits.
Yeah, they don't show it, but yeah, Gundam jacking is also a time-honored Gundam tradition where I don't know how often it's happened quite a bit where at least Mobile Suit Gundam, Mobile Suit Zeta Gundam, and Mobile Suit Gundam Double Zeta all begin with the main character just stealing the Gundam,
joyriding a Gundam.
Yeah, just like Mobile Suit Zeta Gundam is just like a kid who gets bullied for having a girl's name, just getting into the Gundam and trying to squash the guy who bullied him.
It's like the Kia boys.
Yeah.
But Gundam, but with giant robots.
Yes, exactly.
Excellent.
So,
now I'm just imagining Gundams piloted by hamsters, and I'm just delighted. That's the most adorable thing I've ever heard.
Hey, Joe.
Joe, are you familiar with the Kia boys?
Not a fucking bit, no.
So there's a recent trend. If you need to buy a car within the next couple of years, I would not recommend buying a Kia or a Hyundai.
Oh, I would never, no.
Because there is a very well-known exploit now due to TikTok where basically if you have a USB drive and a screwdriver, you can hotwire a Kia or a Hyundai.
Oh, shit.
And so it's become a TikTok trend where these people who call themselves the Kia boys just go around and these tweens, they're literally too young to have a license, go and hotwire Kias and then just joyride them.
Good lord.
Anyhow.
To take it back to Gundam, Joe, you say hamsters piloting Gundams. I just want to let you know that in Mobile Fighter G Gundam, there is a horse that pilots a horse-shaped Gundam.
Hell yeah.
I need to lie down. I need to go take my Bojangles tea and just lie down for a minute.
Have a lie down with your Bojangles hard tea.
And now, how do you teach a horse to pilot or any robot at all?
It's
Instinct.
Mobile Fighter G Gundam. You don't ask questions.
Excellent.
Going back to Endless Waltz. So while Hero and Duo are inside the base, just kicking ass and just demolishing all these other suits because they're teenagers who've been basically trained from birth to pilot these giant death robots. Duo gets into a battle with a mobile suit that he recognizes the style of the fighting, and he realizes that Troa, his good buddy, is fighting against him, and he wonders what the hell's going on. And when he's about to be hit by a bunch of missiles, we see a flashback where Troa, as a young soldier, has the name No Name, and he gets basically witnesses a murder and is just oh yeah, that guy you just killed, I'll take his name and pilot his robot for you.
This is me now.
This is me now.
Exactly. Yeah, and again, that is a retcon. There was no deal where he had a fake. There was a real Troa Barton, and he was the fake Troa Barton in the show itself.
I'm gonna ask a very dumb question.
Go for it.
To what end? Other than drama, I guess.
I think it's just for drama.
Okay.
I think it's literally just to give all. I think because that they don't really give any of the Gundam pilots backstories in the show itself. So they're just
gotcha.
We kind of didn't give any of these guys backstories. We got to give them something here.
Shit,
so
we forgot to give them backstories. We got 3 OVAs, guys. Let's pump them out.
We got to actually give you something to care about. Hero sees a dead dog. Wu Fei is something.
There's a very brief flashback when he's fighting with Hero, spoiler alert, where I assume his colony gets blown up because it's a Chinese looking colony, and then it just blows up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, but it turns out that after this Duo Troa fight, Troa was just pretending to fight him and giving Duo a way out. And while Hero and Duo are wrecking shit in the colony, trying to find Troa and save Relena, they learn that the truth behind Operation Meteor, which, again, in the show itself, Operation Meteor was literally just the plan to send Gundams to Earth to fuck up the United Earth Sphere Alliance, which was basically the Earth controlling the colonies. But in this show, in the OVA/movies, Endless Waltz, they added the extra thing of, Operation Meteor was originally them trying to do a colony drop on Earth, which, again, recurring Gundam thing to drop giant things onto Earth.
Right. Okay. So that was going to be my big question for you. Was, I know they talk about this, like, we have Operation Meteor, but then they keep mentioning, we've changed Operation Meteor. So what the original operation was? Okay, that makes sense now.
Yeah, it was the original. The whole deal about the original Operation Meteor, was added for this OVA. Oh yeah, and while Hero and Duo are fighting in the colony, who should appear but a mysterious man cloaked in shadows, saying he wants to be a preventer too, and he shows up again in a mobile suit and he starts kicking ass and taking names. That man is Zex Merquise. Remember how I said there was a guy fighting in the reactor of the battleship at the beginning of the movie?
Yes, I do remember.
That's Zex. That's Zex. He was turbo dead.
Oh wow!
He was turbo dead. He was blown up in that battleship, and even when Dekim Barton tells him, like, "Hey, I thought you were dead," Zex says, "I was."
Some space magic.
Magic. I am amazed at the number of mechs or Gundams that we see explode in this, where the pilots still manage to live.
They literally say that in the final battle. They're like, "Wow, you haven't killed a single one of them."
Yeah, they're like, this battle could go a lot faster if we just shoot to kill.
But the thing is, it kind of goes against the whole peace, the whole sustaining peace part of that this movie is trying to do.
Yeah, if you want peace, you got to prepare for war and all that John Wick crap.
Yeah, well, the whole thing is Gundam Wing's view, the show's view on peace is very facile, where it's just if everybody just wants peace, we have peace, and the show kind of takes a kind of actually, I kind of like all the retconning it does, because it takes the show to task and says hey, that's kind of a facile view in a way, retconning everything about the show. It kind of not just subverting the mech design, it's by subverting everything about the show, the character backstories, the mech designs, everything, the philosophies of it. It subverts the show itself and says, the idea that just by hoping for peace you can have peace, that's a foolish endeavor. If you want peace, it is something that has to be that you have to earn, and sometimes has to be fought for.
It outright says it later when Dorothy's kind of talking to the civilians and says it's not just handed to you.
Yes,
right.
Exactly.
Yes.
Right.
Because you have to want it, and you have to take it, and you have to be willing to fight for it if you do want it. So you can't just hope everybody's going to be
hunky dory.
No, that's not how it works.
I realize we haven't talked much about Dekim or Mariemaia. Basically, Mariemaia is the daughter of the main villain of Gundam Wing, and she's just basically a puppet for Dekim, Dekim Barton, who wants to just drop a colony on Earth and send a bunch of robots to a completely demilitarized Earth, and rule it as its leader, and using her as his own little figurehead. Yeah, the
little puppet dictator. Which I thought that was a fun sort of little twist, to have the villain ostensibly be it's a 7 or 8 year old child who is just unfathomably precocious and ready for war.
Yeah,
but of course she's just a puppet because she's a child.
And that's another Gundam thing of just adults exploiting children for their own ends, and just just hey, I want this, I'm going to make children do my bidding for me.
Right.
And if you want more of that, by golly, you should watch Witch from Mercury. Like
I think I may actually.
Yeah, Witch from Mercury. Like I cannot sing its praises enough. It might be my favorite Gundam thing. All right, so we've gotten to the point where Hero and Duo meet up with Troa, and they all work together to stop the colony, stop the Operation Meteor plan. They stop the colony from destabilizing, but the problem is that Dekim Barton has already launched a bunch of mobile suits at Earth. So, yeah, we've barely talked about the Preventers, but they mostly exist just to like relay exposition to the different characters in this story.
Yeah, that was the thing. Like I recognized them, but like I never could quite understand exactly what they were supposed to be doing. Besides just telling us exactly what's going on.
They're there to move the plot along.
Yeah,
right.
That's kind of their deal. Yeah,
okay.
they exist to move the plot along. But yeah, they basically relay word to Zex that, oh hey, the Gundam boys, they stopped the plan to destroy. They stopped the colony drop plan, but there's still a bunch of mobile suits headed to Earth. So now the boys are like, okay, we got to go pick up our Gundams. So Hero escapes and goes to pick up Wing Zero in space, and the rest of the Gundam boys, along with Sally, leave the colony in order to meet up with Quatre, who, as Joe said earlier, kind of flawlessly retrieves the Gundams from flying into the sun at the last moment.
Yeah, all I really mean by saying that, you know, I wanted more, that was like that almost seems like a movie plot in and of itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, you could have had an entire like Sunshine-esque movie about trying to retrieve the Gundams from the sun. But they didn't need to do that.
I wish we had a little bit more of that too, because I thought that was kind of fun.
Yeah.
Like it's a fun conflict, not a conflict really, but it's a fun problem to have to figure out. And you get a little bit of that where they're trying to figure out like the right trajectory to send the rockets so that they can use all their fuel, but then slingshot around Venus to get it back to Earth in time. It's
blowing up the power generator to send it to Earth. Yeah,
fun little like sci-fi plot there in the middle of this giant robot thing.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
anything to distract me from the fact that I'm watching a Gundam thing.
All right, so now we get to the really fun part of the movie. We get to the best part of the movie, in my opinion, where things seem to be at their lowest. We got like the slow Christmas music playing we get the low music playing as the serpents all descend on Earth on Christmas Day, and everything.
It's kind of Christmas music, though. Yeah. It has a couple of bars of Christmas music, but then it just kind of swerves into not Christmas music.
Yeah. So yeah, we get to see, Lady Un, Preventer Gold, just kind of like watching over the city as, snow falls and the serpents descend, and Dekim and Mariemaia show up with Relena to take control of Earth, and all hope seems lost until we get that incredible sequence of Hero flying through space and catching up to the Wing Zero, and we get that fucking Wing Zero takeoff sequence. I fucking loved this part.
Hell yeah, this was great. This was legit great.
It looks wonderful.
It does.
Yeah, this is where you could really tell this was an OVA, and they could put all their money into the animation. Mm-hmm. The song that plays during this part is Last Impression by 2Mix. 2Mix also did both OP songs and the one ED song for Gundam Wing.
Okay.
Which all three rule. Just Communication, Rhythm Emotion, and It's Just Love. But yeah, this one, Last Impression, is wild good. I love the part where it just almost turns into like the Mortal Kombat theme, right as Hero's climbing into the Wing Zero. The vocalist on this song is a woman named Minami Takayama. She's also a voice actress. This is for a little bit of video game chat. She voiced Pit and Dark Pit in Kid Icarus Uprising for the 3DS.
Oh, I don't know if you know this.
Mm-hmm.
sorely underrated.
I've
One of
heard
the best Nintendo games of its era.
I've heard it's good.
It's fucking amazing, and it deserves a remaster because too many people slept on it. Because the control scheme was a little weird, but
I remember seeing that. Yeah,
I loved that game. It was amazing.
But also, she has been the voice of Conan Edogawa in Case Closed since 1996, since the beginning.
Whoa, that's some steady work right there.
She was the dub actress for Donna Hayward in Twin Peaks, which I don't know if you guys know how big Twin Peaks was in Japan.
Massive.
Yeah, they made a coffee commercial, like a series of coffee commercials featuring a lot of the original cast, and Mark Frost was also brought over to consult on a little game known as Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening.
I was just about to mention that's like the one thing I do know. They heavily based Link's Awakening on like ideas from that. Yeah.
There's so many games that Twin Peaks has influenced.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
And then the final thing I want to note that she did, she was in the Japanese version of the Japanese language version of Kiki's Delivery Service. She voices both Kiki and Ursula, the artist that Kiki meets in the woods with all the crows.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Now again, Nick and I both just saw Kiki's Delivery Service in theaters this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's fun.
It was the English dub though, so there's that. But still, a great little movie.
Yeah, great little movie.
Had never seen it before. I loved it.
You can't go wrong with the dubs on the Ghibli movies. They're all very good.
Especially this one, because not only did we get a Phil Hartman performance that I did not know about, which just kind of broke my heart a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But also, there's one little kid in there whose voice I just could not quite place. And then all of a sudden, I hear that very distinct Bobby Hill, okay. And I just loved it. It was Pam Adlon voicing this little kid. Does the Bobby Hill, okay. And I just burst out laughing. But yeah, the final battle is huge, kind of amazing. I would do. There was one section that we missed early on, and I want to just briefly touch on where you're gonna have to help me out here because I forget who says it. It's one of the Gundam pilots versus one of the I guess the evil Gundam pilots.
Oh, is it? Are you talking about the hero versus Wu Fei fight?
Maybe. This is a little bit earlier in the film where they're trying to, I guess, break out of that facility in the Gundams.
The colony.
Yeah, the colony. And one of them says, like, "Oh, I know who that is. I would know that fighting style anywhere."
Yeah, and it's just Trollo just.
Where he's just standing still and blasting away at nothing. Yeah.
I mean that was his fighting style.
Fair enough.
That was the fighting style of the heavy arms in the show, which I guess with that we can get into the next graphic I have. If you give me just a second,
yeah.
I have the mecha chart because again, all the mecha were redone for this show for this movie, except for the tall geese. The tall geese that we see in the movie, piloted by Zex, is the third tall geese, but every other one is a redesign of the one from the original, and they're treated as the original design throughout.
Oh wow!
So just take a look at the graph I posted, and yeah, if you look at the heavy arms from the series, it's got that yellow, orange, and red color scheme, which I really like. All those little like orange flappies and those little boxes on it's like all those open up and fire missiles.
Oh my god.
And the white parts on its chest open up and it's got even more guns in there too. So it having like 4 miniguns seems excessive, but it's even more excessive in the show itself. I am actually holding right now my own my little gunpla of the Gundam Heavy Arms that my girlfriend's mom got for me a couple years ago for Christmas.
Oh, awesome!
Nice.
Because yeah, I do make the Gundam models. It's one of my favorite little hobbies. Because yeah, I like these little guys. But yeah, so yeah, what do we think about the comparisons between the show mechas and the movie mechas?
Ultron changed a whole lot.
Yeah, the thing is about the Ultron is that the movie one took out my favorite part, where if you look on the back view of the Ultron, it's got that weird little like 2 blaster beams down.
Yeah.
In the show itself, that comes up over the top like a scorpion tail.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's really cool.
But that's also got like a shield or something.
Yeah. My one problem with the Ultron, well, my 2 problems with the Ultron are, 1, it's piloted by Wu Fei. And 2, like the extendo, like it's got those like cool extendo arm like thingies. The problem is that was the exact same gimmick of the Dragon Gundam in Mobile Fighter G Gundam, the show just before this, that was also piloted by the Neo China Gundam pilot.
I'm absolutely seeing the influence of, if you're familiar with the Nintendo game ARMS and Min Min,
Oh yeah,
feels like a direct response to the Extendo ARMS and the whole Chinese theme.
Gotcha.
Down to the color scheme even. Anyways,
interesting.
Just a note: the Gundam Wing, the TV show designs were all done by Kunio Okawara, who is the Gundam mechanical designer. Like, he did the RX-78-2, the Gundam from First Gundam, and he's also done stuff for other shows, including Votoms, and he even did some mechanical design for Space Dandy, which I'm pretty sure was the ALE, which is basically just a giant gun cannon from Mobile Suit Gundam. But all the ones for Endless Waltz were redesigned by Hajime Katoka, who is also like a big-time Gundam developer, a Gundam mechanical designer, and is popular enough that he has his own line of Gundam model kits. Like, you can get these kits that are called Ver-Ka, that it means that they are designed by Hajime Katoka. So, what do we have thoughts on? What's your favorite looking Gundam what's your favorite looking mobile suit on this list, fellas?
I mean, it's kind of hard to beat the Zero in the Endless Waltz Zero.
I gotta say, yeah, Wing Zero is my favorite.
Those giant wings are just kind of amazing, but also just the differences between the show Death Scythe and the Endless Waltz Death Scythe. It's kind of hilarious.
Got a bit of a glow up there. A lot of spikes.
I'm gonna say, every time I see the Death Scythe in the show or Endless Waltz, I'm like, oh hell yeah, I love the Death Scythe. But then like I'm looking, I'm like, I think the thing is, I really like the Scythe. I really like the Scythe. That's what I really like about the Death Scythe.
The Scythe is
agreed.
cool.
That's my
the carrier, not so much.
Yeah. But no,
basically any Gundam that has some form of like short range weapon and or just basically just a lightsaber, awesome, great. Love it.
Good news for you. A lot of Gundams have beam sabers because it was all heavily influenced by Star Wars.
Right, I figured as much. Yeah,
like Gundam is often referred to as the Star Wars of Japan.
I will say, big fan of Sandrock, especially the giant cape that serves absolutely no function on a giant robot.
I love the giant cape. I love the part where it slashes out of the giant cape.
It's so good. I love like the little sides it has in the giant cape.
I will say I do greatly prefer the TV show version of the Sandrock because I love that like black and yellow color scheme. I think that goes very well with the Sandrock and the fact that it is like a desert themed Gundam.
Yeah,
I'm not as much a fan of like the typical tricolor look of the Endless Waltz version Sandrock.
Oh no, I agree with you. I like the TV show version design better, but I'm just saying I love that cape.
Oh yeah,
the
cape. The cape is sick.
That's so good.
One last note: the Endless Waltz Death Scythe. And speaking of lightsabers, that Endless Waltz Death Scythe reminds me of one thing in particular, and I'm going to drop it here in the chat.
Yeah, I forget this guy's name, but for the listeners, it's the guy who has the suit that's just covered in lightsabers.
Eirik Ismarin, I think his name is. The most Star Wars Wars thing that's ever Star Wars.
I will.
Some extended universe stuff.
Yeah, it's like pre-Disney extended universe. He definitely does not exist anymore.
Yeah, he's definitely in the Legends section of Wikipedia.
Right, right.
I will say there's a fun game I've been playing recently after hearing about it on a podcast where there was a guy who used to run a Twitter account called Gundam Names, where he would just find things that just sounded like the names of characters from Mobile Suit from like various Gundam shows, because people in Gundam shows have very stupid names. Like I've been watching through Mobile Suit Gundam Double Zeta, and I can't really get over the fact that it's a show that's making me feel things feel like emotions about a character named El Peo Play. And there's also someone made a tweet where they had like they were building a crew of like Gundam characters named Sabina Farden, Kai Shiden, and Jizzle Jizzin. And the main villain of Gundam Unicorn is named Full Frontal.
Oh my god.
Gundam just has really stupid names. So there was a guy that apparently had a Twitter account just like finding dumb Gundam names out in the wild, like things that sound like Gundam names, like Brayburn Apples and Full On Fajitas.
That's my favorite dinner at my local Mexican place. Full on fajitas. Oh man! So what's left to talk about with this film? Because we're winding things down here.
The one thing I want to mention is the hero versus Wu Fei fight, where Wu Fei, above Earth, and the Ultron Gundam is waiting for Hero's approach in the Wing Zero. Do y'all clock something about what Wu Fei's saying during the fight? Where he doesn't want a world with peace, because then what are soldiers going to do in a world with peace?
Yes, I caught that, and it made me stop and go, maybe he's got a point, but then yeah.
Chill out, Wu Fei. You can go blow up a town like in the end of the movie.
Well, you know who might have been who probably is a big Gundam fan and might have watched this back in the day.
Who's that?
Oh God,
Hideo Kojima. Yeah, video game Chad boyos. That's what I was thinking of, because that's like the big boss philosophy of creating Outer Heaven. The whole thing of like, we need a place for soldiers just to be soldiers, and we need a world of endless warfare so soldiers constantly have something to do, and that's kind of what Wu Fei is arguing for.
Mm-hmm.
It all comes back around.
Also,
oddly enough,
Joe.
That's also like the major theme of that Bruce Willis movie Red that I watched today. Like, what does a retired CIA operative do with his free time? I might as well go back on another mission.
One last job.
Or get a job at MSNBC.
Yeah. But speaking of Metal Gear Solid, I want to point out that I just noticed, so apparently there is or has been a live-action Gundam film under development by Netflix, of all people.
Netflix, in partnership with Legendary Pictures, the same people that are making the same production company behind the Monsterverse.
Great, yeah, because what I'm reading here, Jordan Vogt-Roberts is attached to direct, who did Kong Skull
Island, yeah.
But on IMDb, I'm looking him up, and that is not listed anywhere in his like upcoming directorial credits. But what is listed is a Metal Gear Solid film.
Yeah, he's been attached to the Metal Gear Solid thing for a while, and I think Oscar Isaac's attached to that too. And I would not be surprised it seems like there might be some issues with the live action, the second live action Gundam movie, because there already was a live action Gundam movie.
Okay, now obviously I didn't know that.
Well, it's something that a lot of people try to bury because it's a live action Gundam movie made by a Canadian TV studio, so people automatically assume it's terrible, but it's actually not bad.
Really?
Yeah.
I gotta have to look this up now because I'm curious.
G Savior. That's what it's called. It's
G Savior.
Yeah, it's not like great. It's not like great or amazing, but it's like a fun like 90s like cable style watch.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That, I was kind of thinking about that earlier. Like, if you did this, if an American version of this existed, it would probably be like a mid-aughts Sci-Fi Channel original series.
And then except G Savior's Canadian.
Right. So that's pretty close.
Yeah. And the funniest thing about G Savior is they reuse the armor. They use the same armor as Starship Troopers.
Oh, of course they did. Yeah.
Oh my god.
That armor got passed around so much. Back in the day, like Starship Troopers, G Savior, Firefly used it. Like, it's all over the place.
Oh my god.
Yeah. But yeah, so let's wrap this up right fast. What are your final thoughts on like the ending of this film?
Well, I want to give a shout out to the scene with Dorothy, because again, there's no real context given to anyone who hasn't seen Gundam Wing, and apparently this scene with Dorothy was added just for the theatrical version. But in the show, Dorothy just in the back half of the show, when Relena just starts preaching her absolute pacifism thing, Dorothy exists kind of as a foil to just be like, oh, but what if you could just fight people? Here's a gun, go kill people. And Dorothy is just, and Relena is just kind of does some like sick verbal kung fu and just always immediately dismantles her arguments about like war versus pacifism.
Right. So
it was fun to like actually see Dorothy do something and see her make some points and get like rack up a W for once.
Right, she gets all the people of the city like to sort of come together and agree that like, no, we need to fight for our own peace. And then she like calls in a bunch of like buses and vans to carry them off somewhere.
A gold RV.
All these, yeah, and I'm like, oh well, this is. See, me not knowing who this was or the context of any of this, I'm assuming, oh, she's going to load them all up into these things and then kill them all, isn't she? Because I don't know who this is.
But there's only like 15 minutes of the movie left at this point. Well, you can't introduce a new threat at this point, can you?
I don't know. I mean, I think in my mind, I was expecting like, oh, well, the colonists are obviously using this as a distraction so that they can round people up and just get rid of them.
But
I see.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's not what happens.
No, I'm gonna say like during this like final battle, the animation looks fucking incredible. And I love like how smooth it all is. It's like watching them just tear through all these serpent mobile suits. Mm-hmm. Great shit. A+, love it.
Oh yeah.
And all the shit about them being like, oh, we're just stuck in another losing battle. Yeah.
And then you get that great scene where the hero and the Zero suit are blasting down with the double barrels on the compound.
On the shelter.
Oh my god.
Yeah, the Buster rifle where he's just like, can I confirm, is your shield up? Yes. Boom! And just
takes his own arm off. Oh, it's so good.
Because, well, you don't have the context for just, like, why he asks that, because in the show itself, you see him pull that thing out. The first time he pulls out the double barrel shotty in the show, it destroys an entire colony in one blast. So, like, watching this, I was like, oh, fuck. Because, yeah, given that context, you're like, you don't want to fuck with that shit. And then, so yeah, watching him blow through it multiple times and just watching Wing Zero just get torn apart was like, whoa.
And that's like, where is that supposed to be? That's like Switzerland or Belgium,
Brussels.
Brussels. That part of the world I know still has, or at least at the time had, like lots and lots of like underground bunkers specifically built like during World War One. It's like that's definitely a real thing that he's blowing up.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
Yeah. Oh, so good.
But also,
and then
sorry.
Oh, no, you go.
No, I was going to just say, I've taken that screenshot and I put it on Twitter and just said, yes, this is a Christmas movie.
Yeah, a lot of people, like, I mean, I have an article that I can send you from Stephen Hero on Anime News Network that is specifically about how this is a Christmas movie, and part of his argument is like the nostalgia and the atmosphere of it. And yeah, like as Brad pointed out earlier, some of the music does sound fairly Christmassy, but also it's contrasted with just like this hyper violence that's also again, very Gundam Wing to be like, oh, but nobody's dying.
It's a Christmas miracle, yes.
Yeah, it's a Christmas miracle that Zex... Also, this is a throwaway line that Zex says. Zex says, people like Mariemaia are the reason why we'll bring about people like a Miliardo Peacecraft. And then someone says that to Relena there will be no sibling reunion.
Right.
Zex is Relena's brother, because his birth name is Miliardo Peacecraft.
I got
Because if you look at the character graphic again, Zex is what we like to call the Char clone. Char is a mysterious masked figure from first Gundam who hides his identity and his motives behind a mask, and in basically every Gundam sense, there is like typically a character who wears a mask or a face covering of some sort to hide their identity and their motives. And in this case, yes, Zex is definitely the Char, because his birth name is Miliardo Peacecraft.
An Aznable-like character.
Yes, exactly. Char Aznable.
See, I was going to say he's the Racer X of the series.
Yes, exactly. Playing off the same stereotype as Racer X.
I know an anime thing. Listen, if y'all want to sit here and talk about Speed Racer, I'll talk about the Speed Racer movie all day long.
We got to find. There's some red and green in all those swirling colors.
Oh, totally.
But no, after Hero just completely obliterates the bunker, he rushes down there, and oh god, this gets a little bit messy, but he rushes down there to confront Mariemaia along with Lady Une, aka Preventer Gold, who was in there the entire time, because there's like one shot of her infiltrating the control room earlier.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's just like there's a bunch of confrontations where they argue about, what is, who gets to withstand peace, who gets to rule, etc., etc. Basically, Lady Une's in the rebels about to fall on Mariemaia, but Lady Une just out of nowhere grabs her and says, I disagree with you, but I'm not going to let the daughter of Treize die.
Oh,
and then
some slaps happen, some shots happen.
Yeah, Dekim shoots Mariemaia because he's trying to shoot Relena, but Mariemaia realizes all the horrors she's done, all the horrors she's committed, and throws herself in front of Relena and takes a bullet for her.
Yeah, just a last second face turn. And saves the day by taking a bullet. And it occurs to me, like, this might be the only Christmas movie we've covered where a child gets shot.
Yeah, Gundam does not pull punches. There are multiple kids, like, people die in Gundam.
This is not a 4-kids situation.
No, this is not 4-kids. Gundam Wing, when it aired on Toonami, had to be censored because of the violence, and when it aired on Adult Swim, they had to it was uncensored.
So, wait a minute. Nope. You know what? I take it back. I hate to say this. In Bruges, it features a child getting murdered.
Yes, you're right. In Bruges does feature a child getting killed.
That is true. So
I was going to make a joke and say Gundam Wing Endless Waltz does what Home Alone 2 couldn't, but that is a lie.
I mean, it does, but In Bruges also does it.
It does, but so In Bruges goes like the extra mile and actually kills the kid. Ugh, I hate saying that out loud.
Well, a dog also dies in this, so there's that.
Right.
Actually, 2 kids.
2 kids die.
2. Oh no! Well, just the one.
There's an off-screen.
Yeah, off-screen kid death.
So an on-screen.
Actually, no, just one.
Just
one. Yes.
There you go.
There we go.
Right.
Anyway, Dekim Barton raises his gun again to shoot her again, and then one of his little toadies just shoots him in the head and says, "I've executed the traitor. Long live Treize!" And they all give a salute.
Mm-hmm.
and the threat is over.
The day
and
is
this
saved.
time, the day is saved. The Gundams this time are destroyed for good.
Right. Blown up.
They all self-destruct. This time, I gotta say this. There's a scene early on in Gundam Wing where Hero literally self-destructs his Gundam while he's standing in the cockpit.
Good job, kid.
And he gets thrown from it, but he somehow survives.
And so, and then we see the flashback where Duo has blown his up in the middle of a city street.
Mm-hmm.
And now, so the remaining 3 are conspicuously destroyed in an empty field. Thank God for that.
And the Altron Wu Fei's Gundam is destroyed just like in some mountains. And Sally Poe offers him a job working with the Preventers. Relena oversees some like peace accord, and Hero just becomes a dude.
Yeah, like you do.
Mm-hmm.
Duo goes and buys something from a secondhand shop.
Oh yeah. Well, and then goes to get lunch with Noin.
Right.
Who didn't appear in this movie prior to now, I believe.
Nope. She's there the entire time. She's one of the She's the Preventer that's there with Sally.
Oh, that's right. Excuse me.
Yeah, and also she's in the final battle.
Outfit.
She's in the White Taurus, who's fighting side by side with Zex, and is talking about how Zex, I'm never gonna leave you. Zex, I told you a year ago I wasn't gonna leave you.
The different outfit threw me there.
Yeah,
I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to mention the part where Hero pretends to shoot Mariemaia.
Yes.
I'm trying to remember that. I'm sorry. No.
Because
I'm not tracking on that.
It's at the end when she's bleeding out. He pulls a gun on her. He's like, I'm going to kill you, Mariemaia. Pretends to shoots her, but pulls the trigger. The gun goes click. He says, I've killed Mariemaia. I don't have to kill again.
There you go.
I remember that now.
Right.
Yes.
Again, that's a very Gundam Wing moment. I wanted to make note of that because it's so unhinged.
Oh my God! So we're finally at the end of this thing. So I can finally take control of this show back and say, let's go to the crankometer because I would love to rate this and go home. Oh my goodness! So the crankometer, folks. If you're unfamiliar, if you've just joining us for the first time, good Lord, why this one? But the crankometer is our patented XY axis for rating Christmas movies. The X axis is how Christmassy a film is. The Y axis is how good the film is. So, gentle friends, Gundam Wing Endless Waltz, how Christmassy is this?
I would say maybe like a 2 because it you could really set this at any time of the year, but I think setting it at Christmas gives it an extra flair of melancholy that like someone's trying to like literally take over the world and drop a colony during Christmas, and there is some like moroseness to that contrast.
I get that. I would almost say I would give it a 1 on that account because it's really just Christmas is mentioned at the end and at the beginning and at the end and not really so much in between it all.
Very true, yeah.
They could have done more with it, but they definitely don't misuse it, which that's what we always say. Like the negative points are when a movie really misuses Christmas, and this kind of doesn't do that.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go a 1 on this one. Bradford, what about you?
I definitely get where you're going with it, Nick. But my heart says a 1.
Okay.
You have some fun references to Christmas parties as well, and then there's like the Christmas music where it's legally distinct Christmas music almost.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, it doesn't quite push it into a 2 for me.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
But
so, we're going to say a positive 1 on the Christmas quotient. Now, the Y-axis, how good is this film? Did we enjoy it at all, friends?
I'm probably going to be the outlier here, so you can kind of ignore what I'm going to say, but I would give this 5 stars because I would give it a 5 because I really, really liked this. I love the animation, the fact that like how it builds on 50 episodes of crummy Gundam Wing writing to actually make the characters interesting, the way they actually like can affect the story, and the way it like it references Gundam Wing and actually like takes Gundam Wing to task and, you know, analyzes and it subverts its own like predecessor material, I think is very interesting, and that it really just hit me on a level that I was really not expecting from this.
I have a question for you, Nick.
Yes.
Had you seen this before?
I had not seen this before I watched it for this, like a couple weeks ago.
Okay. Very cool. I'm gonna go ahead and throw out my score, which is a 3.
Mm-hmm.
But if this last year I've been doing a thing where I've sort of taken a mental note of what I expect before I go into a movie.
Mm-hmm.
I was not expecting to like this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I was really worried. I was like, oh, I've never seen Gundam Wing. This is going to be a bit of a slog. I'm not going to be able to make heads or tails of this. I was expecting like a 0 or maybe even a low, like a -1 or a 1 at best. But I really enjoyed this.
Hell yeah.
It held my attention the entire time. It was a lot of fun, to the point where I am definitely going to check out Witch from Mercury.
Hell yeah.
So I'm in very much the same camp as Bradford. I did not know what I was walking into when we started this film, and I found myself really enjoying it. This is the first Gundam anything I've ever seen, and I understood it well enough. The characters, you know, if I watch this or if I watch any of the rest of Gundam Wing, I'll pick it up. I'll figure this stuff out. But as this is on its own, I enjoyed it perfectly well. I would give it a 3 personally.
Okay.
So
I can deal with it. I can understand a 3. Like I said, I figured I was going to be the outlier with my 5.
Well, that's where I'm going to land on this is, you know, my interest in it and Bradford's interest in it as just, you know, coming at it from outsiders versus, you know, Nick's interest as someone who's very well read in Gundam everything.
Also, I will say I might also be biased because, like I said up top, I did not enjoy Gundam Wing, like the show, at all.
Right.
And the fact that this was an engaging, exciting, well animated movie that you know, kind of, you know, kept all the elements I liked about the show, kept like condensed it all into a 90-minute package, and even addressed a lot of my issues with the show, like directly head on, and said, no, this show has some, like, you know, political and, you know, philosophical failings. Like, I really dug that, and it almost made watching all 49 episodes of Wing worth it.
Please tell me you didn't watch all of Wing again for this.
No, I didn't. No,
okay.
no,
Okay.
No, you would have to twist my arm to make me watch Wing again. There's so many Gundams I haven't watched.
Oh man. Well, where I was going to go with that was, you know, my score and Bradford's score being a 3, Nick's score being a 5. Let's just settle in the middle and say this is a +1, +4.
I can dig
fair.
it. I'm
That's
happy
fair.
with that. Pleasantly surprised is what I'm going to say.
Absolutely.
Well, so gentle friends, that's Gundam Wing Endless Waltz. I thank you so much for joining us on this wild adventure. I hope you learned something, because I know I certainly did. Nick, thank you so much for joining us. You've been an invaluable resource for us.
Thank you for having me. And if you ever do cover War in the Pocket, you know how to reach me.
Absolutely.
I think we may have to take you up on that offer, but thank you so much for helping us end anime with a bang.
You're welcome.
A very big, earth-shattering bang indeed, yes.
A colony-dropping bang.
A colony-dropping bang.
Do you have anything you'd like to plug, or would you want to tell folks where they can find you?
I don't know. I would normally plug Twitter, but that place is going down the shitter.
Really has.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, how about this? Come join us on our Christmas Creeps Discord chat, where you can talk to myself and Bradford and Nick all you want.
Yeah,
Hey.
if you want to yell at me about how I'm wrong about Gundam Wing, come join the Discord.
Yeah. Come and yell at us for, you know, doing a 2-hour episode on Gundam Wing. Good Lord. But if you want to reach us anywhere online, we're at Christmas Creeps. We're Facebook, Twitter, pretty much wherever you want to find us. That's where we are. I would encourage you to, subscribe to us on wherever you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, rather, Google, Amazon. We're everywhere. So you can also find us at christmascreeps.com. That's where you'll find all the show notes for this. And I'll even put all of the graphs that Nick has drawn up for us on the page for this episode, because you're probably going to need them. And that's going to do it for Christmas Creeps this week, folks. I'm sorry that we've taken 2 whole months out of your yearly podcast listening to talk about anime, but we finally put that one to rest. So I'm excited to see what the summer has lined up for us. We don't actually know yet. But it's going to be fun, whatever we decide. So come on back for another great, fun-filled episode of Christmas Creeps, where we talk about Christmas movies all year round, whether they count or not, because you know what? That's just what we like to do.
Yes.
So for Christmas Creeps, I'm Joseph Wade.
I'm Bradford.
I'm Dr. Nick.
Wishing you all a pleasant evening, and please do not buy Bojangles Hard Sweet Tea. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Happy Christmas. Happy Christmas.